Thank you for coming and introducing and not reading a long litany of things that are, in my mind, insignificant compared to what I do on a daily basis. Thank you all for coming to Regional One to have your meeting. We are as excited as you are to be here, that you are here, because we think that, and we firmly believe that the Regional Medical Center and Regional One Health is a jewel to this community, and the more people we can get to visit with their clothes on and not come through our trauma center with your clothes cut off, the better we can get the message out to the community of who we are, what is it we're trying to do. We are here if you need to come to us in some type of emergency or for your health care. And we strive every day to make sure that we're delivering that care at the highest level. We want to talk just a little bit about Regional One Health, and I want to push the right button. There we go. As was stated, the MED was the last iteration of this organization of a long litany of entities. There was the John Gaston, there was Memphis City Hospital. The hospital was started years ago by John Gaston's widow, where she wanted to provide a hospital in this community for the indigent of the community years and years ago. When I first took this job, one of the first things I did is went to the library there on Poplar. Yeah, the main library, and went to the Memphis room, and I said, give me everything you have on the MED, John Gaston, da-da-da-da. She pulled out just piles and piles of articles that have happened about this organization. So I learned a lot about its history, because even though I started in 2010, I'm standing on the shoulders of many people who have run and led this hospital and served this community, and I wanted to make sure that that was preserved and what the intent was preserved as we move forward into the future. So when we looked at the MED at the time, you know, the MED was a term of endearment. The city loved the MED as long for trauma, for burn, for high-risk OB. But the feeling and the understanding and true belief of this community was, if you go to the MED, if you're in a bad accident, go to the MED, but as soon as you wake up, get transferred to Methodist or Baptist or St. Francis or where. That was what the whole community believed. It was in some kind of manuscript. I guess when you buy your house or pay your taxes, they sent that to you, but everyone believed. My board chair told me that, and I said, well, if we're going to be good enough to save your life, we're going to be good enough to take care of your whole hospitalization, discharge you, and also create an environment where you may want to seek your health care here. And that was what we started with. We started with, and this organization had gotten comfortable with that. It was just okay. And we started with the fact that if we're going to be good enough to save your life, we want to be that institution that you know is the one that's here to give you high quality care. So we looked at our mission, our vision statement. Not a bad one, but it was limiting. To be leaders in preventive and therapeutic care for people of Shelby County and the region, regardless of their ability to pay. So what you put into your vision statement is a statement that defines essentially the population of which you run the organization for. And we said we want to be more than just a trauma and poor people's hospital. And I'm saying that very carefully, but in reality, when in this community, when you have choice, you choose Baptist, Methodist, and St. Francis. And the MED is for the poor people. You don't have to agree or disagree, but that's the kind of feeling that this community had embraced. So what we said, or people without insurance. So what we said is, what we want to do is we want to build an organization that ultimately puts us in that same level as those first three, as a choice, as an option for people in this community who have choice for their health care. So what we want to ultimately build is an organization that when you get sick or when you need medical care, when you need an MRI, when you need that you think Baptist, Methodist, St. Francis, Regional One Health. That's the first thought we want you to have. But ultimately when we get to where our vision is, we want your thought to be Regional One Health, Baptist, Methodist, St. Francis. So that's where we're building our organization from. So it had to start with the vision, and the vision is what drives us. And we said in collaboration with our academic partners, we will be the premier healthcare system advancing the quality of life in our communities. None of those words in there are accidental. So the big question is, should we get out of its place? Should the med get out of its place? And I've described the place that this community had placed us in. And we spent a lot of time and effort looking at that. We spent a lot of time trying to convince the people within the organization that we should strive to sit there and be a healthcare system equal to or better than those that are in this community. And Baptist and Methodist and St. Francis are great healthcare institutions. I have nothing bad to say about any of them. I have friends in all those organizations. But that doesn't mean that we don't limit ourselves to where it is that we want to go. So we felt and we were convinced that we needed to get out of the place that we had been put in this community over this period of time. So this was one of the words that we kind of struggled with: competition, compete. And when we were going through the strategic planning process, people said, no, you shouldn't try to compete. Well, the way I see competition is not necessarily that I try to outdo you or buy something bigger than you or get the fancier piece of equipment. How I see competition is placing, and as you all, as business, not a product that is second to none in the community that people seek to go to. And you create the competition by creating an option, and an option that is better than the ones that are currently available. So I'm not going to try to build a fancier building or build a bigger cancer center or build this, that, and the other. We're going to build an organization. When you look at how healthcare is provided, you're going to say, that's where I want to get my healthcare or receive my healthcare. And so that's when we say competition, we're saying build something that people will say they have to go. One of the things that when the iPad first came out, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to get an iPad. She said, why? What does it do? Well, why do you want an iPad? I said, I want one. I don't know what it does, but I want one. And so they created within me a desire for something that I didn't even know what it could do. And my wife questioned me, you just want to get the latest gadget. Well, I can't get her off of it now, because she can shop all over the world and order stuff that shows up by UPS and FedEx at our front door before I get home, and she can get the boxes out of the house. But they created something that I didn't know I needed, and then at the end of the day, I can't do without it. So what we're seeking to do is to create that same thing, is to create a desire for something that at this point people don't know that they need. So that's when we talk about competition, that's what we're talking about. So when you look at our vision statement, these words, and I said they're not accidental, they're intentional. Academic. We have, we're a city of over 1 million people. We have a medical school, a very fine, high-quality medical school within our community. Fine doctors that are doing great things, but we're probably the only city of this size with the medical school that doesn't have a true academic medical center. Think about it. You think of any other city that has a medical school or medical schools, each one of them has a major academic medical center where the newest innovations are taking place, where quality is driven, where you're setting a standard of care in a community that all the community hospitals seek to aspire to. I came from Nashville, from Nashville, and in our community there's Vanderbilt University Medical Center. And Vanderbilt University Medical Center set the bar for the community, and we have very nice hospitals of HCA. Very nice. St. Thomas Health Systems has 3 hospitals there in the city. but the bar is raised and set by the academic medical center. In this community, our bar is set by community hospitals. Not a bad thing, but if you go and you look at those areas, St. Louis, where you have WashU, and Birmingham, where you have UAB, all those communities, and one of our consultants says we're the only SCC school that doesn't have an academic medical center. And that sometimes gets people's juices going. But it's important to have that kind of collaborative environment where you know the brightest, the trained, where the new technologies and new services are provided. And as we grow, we're intentionally growing to that level. We're already, and I'll tell you a little bit in a minute, areas where we don't have any competition in this community where we're providing that care, and we'll talk about that. The is intentional, not one of, not kind of like. We want to be the, and then premier, and always seeking to advance care, and always seeking to find that new level, the new way to provide and deliver that care, and then always providing a high quality care delivery system. So when we set to redefine our place, we started, as I said, with this vision statement to talk about where we're going to go, to get out of our current place, and then to leapfrog into the place we intend to be. So new vision without actionable steps is like lipstick on a pig. Still a pig, maybe a little prettier, but it's a pig. But the reality is we just cannot change our name and expect you as a community to all of a sudden change your perception of who we are and what we do. So before we even changed our name, and we intended to change our name for quite some time, but before we even changed our name, we have worked hard and diligently within the organization to change the mindset and understanding of the associates and employees within the organization to how we're going to deliver this care. We weren't known for being nice. We were kind of a rude place, I understand. We weren't the prettiest place. We weren't a lot of things that people, the community who had access and choice would want to choose to do. And so in order for us to start that process, we had to start internally. We had to first put paint on the walls that hadn't been painted for 3 to 5 years. We had to go back and change. We didn't have, you all came in off of Jefferson through the front door where there's a lady there that met you. That wasn't here when I got here. We didn't have a front door. We just had the emergency room. When I asked the architects, why didn't we build a lobby and a front door? They said, well, they heard most of your patients come to the emergency room, you didn't need a front door. So we built that front door off of that plaza to create a welcoming environment for people to come in. You used to have to come in through the emergency room and try to find your way through. That was step one. Then we've worked tirelessly with our employees, with our new hires to set a new standard of care. Yesterday we spent a whole day doing a leadership development with our leaders to start talking about how to create brand awareness, how to create the emotional attachment to our brand. We had Mr. Brad Martin came and talked to our leadership about how to build in that brand, and he spent an hour or so with our leadership talking. Important things for them to hear, to be able to say that even though we have this fancy new mark, we also have to build the things that are attached to it to make that mark mean something to this community. And that's what we're doing. So we're doing more than just putting lipstick on a pig. So what is in the name? So here at the top is the Regional Medical Center at Memphis. The med, it meant when you turned on the TV first thing in the morning, you could find out who got shot, and we knew how many admissions we had last night from the trauma center by what is in the morning news. And it was something that we all in the back of our mind was glad we're there, but we didn't really want to go there, honestly. So when you take the same building, same angle, and you change to Regional One Health, why did we pick Regional One Health? Well, we are a regional center. For 150 miles, we are the only trauma center between here in Jackson, Mississippi, between here in Little Rock, between here in Nashville, and up into Missouri. So for a 150-mile radius, we are the receiving hospital for all trauma that happens on the interstate, that happens on farms, that happens hunting, all of the trauma, and as well as our local trauma also. Same thing for burn. Our expansive burn covers that same area, and we ultimately are working with Mississippi to be able to be their burn referral. Right now, Mississippi sends their burn patients all the way to Augusta, Georgia. And so we're working with them to become their regional burn center, referral center. And we're really proud of the burn center. If you have time, I know we're giving tours, it'd be a great place to be. Another place you don't want to go, but it's good to know that it's there. So it's more than just saving. Then the one goes back to the. We want to be the one that you think of at the end of the day as we seek to continue to drive its success toward that vision. So we're no longer just a hospital, we're now a system. So the Med used to advertise one hospital, and so now that we're a system, we have the regional medical center, we have a rehab hospital, we have a LTAC, or long-term extended care hospital, we have our outpatient clinics. We have a new outpatient surgery center here on campus. So we're more than just the Med, and that's why we had to come up with a system name that identifies all the assets within our organization that people otherwise didn't know. So we dropped the hospital as the logo, created a new logo to be able to do that. We have no peers in this region for trauma, burn, high-risk obstetrics, and neonatal intensive care. We're taking care of some of the smallest babies in this community. A lot of them are born here. Many of them are transferred here because this is where, and actually is one of the first places in the country where Dr. Coronis was able to develop what is now the specialty of neonatology, where a lot of the babies that we have, probably over 50 to 60% of the babies that we have in our NICU today would not be alive 20 years ago because the science and the technology to keep them alive was not available. A lot of that was developed right here by Dr. Sheldon Coronis, right in our NICU. So our healthcare delivery system is poised for the new normal in healthcare. Healthcare is changing rapidly. I know all areas feel like there's changes, but healthcare over the last 5 years has been turned upside down. And we want to sometimes blame the new law. What the new law did, it created a whole lot of change and understanding, because we as a healthcare community, and we made money because you got sick. Right? That's how a hospital made money. You had a heart attack, you come in the hospital, we were able to take care of you, give you great care, and we'd send the bill. Then we would discharge you home. You get pneumonia and you need surgery. We were here for sick care, and we thought that was what we were supposed to do as healthcare delivery systems. The way healthcare is changing now, we're also responsible, and we should be responsible, in more than just being there when you get sick, but also helping to provide healthcare outside the doors, to make sure that you're being managed for your diabetes and your high blood pressure and your congestive heart failure and all those things, where we're extending our reach outside the wall of the hospitals and the doctor's office and making sure that we'll now be responsible for populations. So if you all are a population, or one population, and we are now responsible for taking care of you, and our payment system now is going to be incentivized to keep you healthy. So we'll put together programs and ways to keep you healthy in the community, working, being productive, instead of being incented to help you remain sick. So if you have congestive heart failure today, and this is one of the changes that's come across, where it used to be if you didn't go home, take your meds, didn't weigh yourself every day, didn't cut back on your salt and your pork intake, I could almost guarantee you within 3 weeks you're going to come back to the hospital in congestive heart failure. And we would be there for you. We'd put you on diuretics,